All right, so continuing with Baron de Montesquieu and his ideas of separation of powers. So Montesquieu studied laws, customs, and governments of European countries to see how they created and enforced laws. He admired the government of England. The English government had three parts. It had a king that enforced laws, it had parliament, the lawmaking branch that would create the laws, and it had courts to interpret laws. The government was divided into three parts, and each part had its own specific purpose and set of powers. By the way, that was a typo. It's supposed to say specific purpose, not purpose specific. Montesquieu called this the separation of powers. So that definition, the government was divided into parts and each part has its own specific purpose and its own specific set of powers. That is the definition of separation of powers. He felt that separation of the government's power was necessary so the government didn't gain too much power and take away people's rights and liberties. So Montesquieu says you have to separate the different branches of the government. You need to have three separate parts, and each part has to have its own set of powers that they can do and the other one can't. And by doing this, he says when you separate those powers of the government into three different branches, the government won't be able to gain too much power, and they won't be able to take people's rights away. They won't be able to take their liberties away. So number 4, why did Montesquieu separate the power of the government, which is what I just explained, and you can summarize what is in purple. And then number 5 is to define in your own words. So that means take the definition that's in yellow and define it in your own words, separation of powers. And then you're going to draw a picture that you think could represent three separate branches or three separate parts of government.